Hello everybody and welcome back to a Lobotomy lore video. Okay, so everything was successful. However, I am going to be keeping it simple this episode and just reading a lot of lore. And by keeping it simple, I mean reading for about 2 hours and then cutting it down to 1 hour so that you guys can have some lore. So I'm not exactly sure who we're going to be reading this episode, but we're going to be going down the list. There is a couple abnormalities that we technically only saw for like a day and then reset during that little period. So all in all, we got a lot of catch up to do. But let us begin. Oh, also I'm going to keep the music off. Even though I love Lobotomy music, I think a pure hour of it might drive me a little bit insane. So we're going to keep it off for the moment. And we are going to begin with the Silent Orchestra. An abnormality that loves art and tries to get the entire company to listen to its music. Excerpt from an encyclopedia. The conductor not only corrects musical errors, but is also highly responsible for creating the best ensemble and taking command of the music. A conductor's skill can be determined within 5 minutes at the podium. The conductor's eyes, actions, and aura to see if the person is worthy to lead them. Without the understanding and harmony between them, the macroscopic significance contained in the score cannot be expressed. Therefore, an outstanding degree of influence, leadership, and eloquence are essential qualities for a conductor to have. First movement, calm and slow. The conductor begins to direct the apocalypse. Movements 2 through 4, cheerful and fast. Employees start to forget everything and show fervent adoration toward the symphony. The emotion soon turns into internal insanity, driving them to attack anyone nearby. The orchestra gives impetus to the music, bringing the entire department to its demise. While all the performers have gathered, the music that no one can hear but everyone can listen to begins. The finale. The music shall perforate your entire being. Aleph de capo. A scythe that swings silently and with discipline, like the conductor's gestures and baton. If there were a score for this song, it would be one that sings the apocalypse. The wielder of this ego is able to indulge in the music of silence that no one else can hear. The conductor does not wish to end the performance until it reaches the finale. However, it may be wise to leave some audience alive to applaud at the end. A splendid tailcoat perfect for a symphony. Superb leadership is required to create a perfect ensemble. It would be wise to leave some of the audience alive until the finale to hear them applaud. Next up on the list is Big Bird. A large, many-eyed bird that patrols the dark forest with an everlasting lamp. Unlike regular birds, it lacks wings and has long arms instead, with which it can pick things up. Would stare intently at anyone it found, young or old, and bite their head off. There is a tale of a beast that lies in the deepest, darkest part of the forest who dazzles creatures away, never to be seen again. To protect all creatures from the beast, the big bird burned all of its feathers to make them a wick, and then made a lamp that would burn forever. With this eternally lit lamp, the big bird wandered the forest, warning the creatures to not stray too deep into the trees. Thanks to the large bird, fewer creatures fell victim to the beast in the forest. However, it was still concerned for the creatures still being killed by the beast. An idea struck the big bird's mind.
If I killed the creatures first, then no one would be killed by the beast.
Since then, only rumors of a beast that would bite your head off flew around the dark forest. It is said that the beast carefully examines and stares at its victims to see if they are the beast that lures helpless creatures away. There is a tale in the town of the area. We heard the tale from the town's oldest inhabitant. Although there is a general assumption that the tale was told to prevent children from entering the forest, it is uncertain who first inherited the tale.
We can't do anything while the abnormality has its eyes open. It stares intently, and it keeps staring. This is why we need to put it to sleep first. We can only begin working when all of its numerous dozens of eyes have entered into slumber.
And it turns out, that tale was not made up. We could find this large bird in the forest. Right after that, we tried to look for the beast that dazzles people. We searched through every nook and cranny of the forest, investigated every single creature in detail. A month later, we came to this conclusion. There was no such beast in the forest, except for the big bird.
This abnormality is completely ignorant of the common perception of death. The abnormalities that reside in this corporation can be placed into two different categories. The first category is those who understand perfectly well what the concept and meaning of death is, and will attack our staff with the intent to kill. The second has those who are aware of the concept of death, but attack without malicious intent. This abnormality we have contained here fits into neither of these two categories. We should probably make a few more rather than just two. To this bird, death in itself is salvation. If it just ripped the head off of a poor little girl who got lost into the forest, to it, there was no mistake, malice, or murder. It just thinks it saved the girl from the beast.
Vav, the lamp.
Lamp.
Big Bird's eyes gained another in number for every creature it saved on this weapon. The radiant pride is apparent. Oh, everyone it's killed is an eye? Oh, wow, that's news to me. For every creature it saved, dozens of blazing eyes always stare into one spot. Snow White's apple. When the prince kissed the princess, she coughed up the bits of an apple stuck in her throat. The dwarves cried out in happiness. Snow White and the prince walked through a flower-covered path and headed to their kingdom. Everyone lived happily ever after. Then there was the apple created from the witch's wrath and curse. It was also a part of herself. The apple that dropped from Snow White's hand after a single bite could never be happy. The apple, full of loneliness and hatred towards the prince, waited for the day it would rot away and return to the earth. Was it the enchantment or the wrath which was bending the laws of nature? Even after enough time had passed for it to rot and allow its seed to bear fruit, the apple did not rot. In the meantime, one half of it was kicked and crushed by someone's foot. The other half was filled with holes, eaten away by the likes of birds and bugs. The carcasses of birds and bugs piled up near the apple. The apple pondered about its existence in the midst of corpses rotting around it. One day, a branch grew from it. The leaves and branches were already withered and dry, but it continued to grow. Finally, one afternoon, the apple gained the ability to move on its own. It thought of the princess and the prince, who left so happily. Snow White had been sleeping for a long time, but a prince came and woke her up. The apple, now a princess in its own right, no longer needed a prince. She began to embark on a journey. Excerpt from the Hidden Stories in Fairy Tales No One Knew. Author unknown. Okay, apparently I don't have the weapon or the suit, so unfortunately we're not going to be able to get that bit of lore. I could have sworn I had some, but I must have lost someone who was wearing it, so unfortunately I don't have it. I'll come back to that when I do have it, and then I'll read it out that way. But yeah, apparently I don't have it. Here come the two that I'm sure many people were looking forward to. Plague Doctor wears a black fedora and a beaked mask. Has huge wings instead of arms or legs. It is capable of human communication, though it prefers to talk little. It came to this facility by itself, claiming that the world has contracted a dreadful disease that only it is able to cure. Could not find anything about this disease it refers to. It seems to like treating employees when they are injured or sick. It shows satisfaction when helping others. And it seems quite sympathetic and benevolent. Even after a week of observation, we found no aggression, violence, or attempt to escape. Only contributions to this assumption that this abnormality is eminently gentle, 12 of our employees used this word to describe the creature, and good for us. Employee Alex, who had a serious scar on his forehead from subduing an abnormality, walked into this abnormality's chamber with his scar's recovery incomplete. The abnormality, which normally isn't loquacious, I don't know how to say that word, started talking as soon as it saw the employee's scar. Observation 1.
Why have you not treated that scar?
I had no time, so I just gave it a little bit of first aid.
I shall heal you, curing you of all disease and injury you possess.
Alex came out of the chamber with his scar completely healed, and thusly became White Knight. It takes the form of a newborn fetus, though the appearance is so grossly grotesque, it's hard to even call it a fetus. While communication is possible, it doesn't occur in a normal way. Every word he utters echoes throughout the entire containment unit.
My disciples, whom I blessed, ye shall leave the way of evil, that once ye were following, and find me. When the time comes, I shall forgive your sins, and descend to the earth ye are living on.
The 12 employees who were blessed by him will transform and roam the facility to deliver redemption to every single employee. Wings will grow from their back, and they will wear masks in the shape of beaks and bear crosses that forgive all sins.
Follow my teachings as I told thee. Thou wilt abandon flesh and be born again.
His disciples will be born again as ones who shall reach out to those far away from the light, ones who shall embrace their neighbors and missionaries who will spread the gospel to all their fellows. Bless me. They are.
The time has come. Soon the bell shall ring. A new world will come. Rise, my servants. Rise and serve me. I am death and life, darkness and light.
So, obviously, I don't have his weapon. Aleph, Paradise Lost.
My loved ones, do not worry. I have heard your prayers. Have you not yet realized that pain is but a speck to a determined mind? You pray unto me to prove my miracles, that you may believe in me, and that by believing you may have life in my name. I shall show you the power.
Next up is Forsaken Murderer. Woo! An abnormality whose brain is imbued with rage, screams, and malicious cries. There's a wound on his forehead that never seems to heal. He hates everyone and everything. He wears a straitjacket, but is as free as any man. No amount of chains and restraints is enough to prevent him from committing violence. He always had to wear a straitjacket. Some say he was a death row inmate from a federal prison. The researchers were always cautious around him. They felt that the straitjacket couldn't contain him. The researchers wanted to study a murderer's brain to prove that innate evil existed. It was difficult to determine who was worse, a man who murdered the innocent with no remorse, or the researchers who wanted to open up his brain to satiate their curiosity. A wide range of medicine and chemicals were injected into him. Some were used for the sake of humanity's future, while others were for new medical techniques. They all had the potential of changing the world. The researchers were getting more and more excited, although they didn't openly express so. It was almost palpable. They said they had found a cure, but they never said what it cured. The prisoner spoke less and less. His aggressiveness was suppressed, and at the same time, he lost himself. After an extensive review, he was permitted to have his straitjacket removed.
It feels like my head is turning into metal. I sometimes hear metallic creaks in my head.
As the days passed by, he began inflicting self-harm. He would continuously hit his head on the wall or hard surfaces. He insisted on checking if his head was really turning into metal. One day, they eventually decided to leave him with the hope that he would stop once he was wounded. However, even with blood pouring down his face, he wouldn't stop until his wound was so deep the whites of his skull were peeking through. He had to wear a straitjacket again, but he was no longer feared or monitored like before. A researcher died. It would have been difficult to identify him without his ID card, as his head was violently crushed. Lax security meant that the door was often left unlocked or unattended. The prisoner, that everyone believes to be confined, was moving around on his knees.
My head, turning into metal, folds into my brain, being flattened.
He kept repeating strange words. As the final procedure was quickly put in place, treatment was halted, and he was dissected so his brain could be used for research. How do I know? I sedated him myself. He kept muttering nonsense until the end.
And begins, and...
Death, regret. Bearing unlimited possibility to change humanity's future, confidential research began in the underground. The researchers laid down all sense of dignity, but they did not feel guilty, as they had the greater good to pursue. Even the merciful Carmen condoned this project. Enemies crushed by this regret can never return to their normal life. Before swinging this weapon, expressing one's condolences for the demise of the inmate who couldn't even have a funeral would be nice. The dignity of a straight-jacketed death row inmate wasn't something worth keeping intact, so no one felt guilty for him, even as his brain rotted. Now the straitjacket is nothing but an accessory to the hatred and anger that remains. Employees who feel a constricting pain while wearing the suit must undergo a thorough psychological examination. Big and will be bad wolf. An abnormality in the shape of a wolf with sparsely damaged fur. It is bipedal, and is capable of communication to some extent. It always attempts to devour employees or breach. Such actions are easily preventable, since it shows obvious signs of behavior and conversation before doing so, making this abnormality fairly easy to manage. The incident on the day was an alerting event for many employees. The moment Red Riding Hood ran into the wolf, the situation spiraled out of control. Prevent the two from meeting at all costs. Considering the potential damage it may cause, it would be a wise decision to sacrifice a few employees to divert their attention away from each other. He had flesh for the first time in a long while, and its taste was so good. In the corner of his eye, a familiar piece of red cloth stood out from the wardrobe. He may, or may not, have seen it before. But he didn't really care about it. Since then, it got harder and harder to keep himself in check. Still, it didn't matter to him. After all, he was destined to be a big bad wolf. There may be lots of stories here, but no story is as disgusting as the wolf's role. It was a sin to be born as a wolf. No one cared about a wolf's name. It has to be called the Big Bad Wolf. All wolves are raised to become giant, ferocious, and hairy monsters. Wolves could not eat other animals even if they were starving. Wolves could not cross the line when doing bad things. And wolves had to be punished. Wolves always needed to be an example. Wolves could not make friends with anyone. Vav, Cobalt Scar. The weapon resembles the claws of a vicious wolf. Once upon a time, these claws would cut open the bellies of numerous creatures and tear apart their guts. It flays the target's flesh and makes them bleed non-stop. Gross. The armor is torn up with countless traces that recount the history of an unending battle. As all wounds heal up and become nothing in the end, this equipment will dull the damages, even if it won't protect you from them completely. Laetitia, Oh, this is her talking. Wait, what?
They call me an adorable little kid because I am a small and lovely child. The kid comes from a place far, far away. And when the kid meets someone she likes, she will give them a gift made all by herself. The gift's content is a secret, though. This is another really, really important secret, but the kid has lots of talents. The girl has many friends, but they said she can't bring them here. She was so sad that she had to leave her dear friends behind, so she came up with a brilliant idea. If I cover up all my friends nicely and make them look like a gift, everyone will be surprised, and they'll laugh together over my prank. Whoops, there goes the secret of the gift. I hope to find lots of friends here, too. The kid is shy, so the gift will be given in secret. Farewells are sad. I hope we can play more, and people here don't smile. That looks so gloomy. So this little lady has made a decision to stay here and never leave until laughter is restored to this place. I will be happy if everyone is pleased with my pranks.
H.E. Laetitia.
It takes a lot of time to extract, but its power cannot be ignored. The crude design appears to have been made a long time ago. The small accessory remains like the wishes of a child who yearned for happiness. The ribbon on the coat represents a child's yearning for jolliness. The little kid who couldn't leave her friends behind came up with a brilliant idea.
To explode people with spiders.
Der Freischütz. Der Freischütz? I think I said it right. I'm not actually sure, though. The devil ultimately wished for despair. For despair wears down the mind and drains one's will to go forward. When one feels there's nothing left to go for, their soul falls down to hell, the devil's domain. This is why the devil finds it more entertaining to watch people fall to despair rather than to just simply kill them. We describe it as selling one's soul to the devil. When a marksman received a gun from the devil proposed a childish contract. The last bullet would puncture the head of his beloved. The moment he heard that, he sought and shot all people he loved. When he told the devil, the magical bullet can truly hit anyone, just like you say. With the last bullet gone for good, the hunter traveled to numerous worlds. Sometimes he helped those in need, or fought evil, but it was all done on impulse. Not a gesture of goodwill or ideals. In one world, he was called a righteous hunter, while in another, he was a blood-stained gunman. One day, the marksman realized the devil was no longer following him. He pondered why. Then he realized that his soul had already fallen to hell from the beginning. The contract had already been fulfilled, so the devil had left. The marksman, now a devil himself, continues to pull the trigger to gather the souls of others. Just as the devil said, the bullets can puncture anything you please, forever. Vav, magic bullet. Though the original's power couldn't be fully extracted, the magic this holds is still quite potent. The weapon's bullets travel across the corridor along the horizon. They also hit absolutely everyone. Though the original... Okay, the description is the exact same.
Mountain of smiling bodies.
It's not like these kinds of happenings are uncommon here, but one day, dozens of employees were killed in an incident. The reason is the same as always. Something breaches, they attempt to stop it, and it leads to another breach. One fortunate thing was that the department was sealed off before anything could get worse. So they all died in the same place. Likely, a mountain of bodies was formed. Obviously, no one wanted to clean up that mess. Normally, it should have been taken care of within a couple days, but because the accident was just so horrific, and everyone was so exhausted, cleanup was delayed with authorization from the department's Sephora. Don't ask me which department it was in. I don't remember all the details. Real quick, I just want to butt in here. Is this Cheesed's previous department? Because he mentions that a bunch of his dudes died and they had to seal off the department. Is Mountain Cheesed's people? Did all the people that died on his watch, did they become mountain? Wow, I feel like that was just a brick that just hit me in the face. What a realization! When left out in the open, a corpse will begin to rot within a few hours. Most of the bodies that die here are damaged in one way or another, so they decay even faster. You probably don't know it yet, but most of the employees here are rather skilled at cleaning up dead bodies. Tidying up over and over will never make anyone an expert at it, whether you want to or not. Will make anyone an expert at it, sorry. Let's say someone you were just talking to about dinner plans died horrifically. With your repeated experience to help you, you won't be vomiting or running away at least. Whoops, I sidetracked a little here. Anyway, in normal circumstances, the mountain would have been removed quickly. But it remained in the department for quite a long time, so it decayed, melted, corroded, and broke down the following laws of nature. That's how its creation began. From the mountain of bodies. The dead gave life to something. Amazed yet? I've still got more to tell you. The dead fused with one another, all smiling, sharing body parts, at least those that were still intact. They became each other's legs and mouth. That doesn't mean their consciousness has also been restored, though. It only wants one thing: our flesh drenched in blood. When there's an announcement of someone's death, the first thing you should do is check if this thing's still quarantined. Once it gets a whiff of the scent, it will pursue us in an instant. The smiling faces are unfamiliar, yet sorrowful. The more bodies it comes across, the more defined its shape becomes, and it is never satisfied. I'm telling you all this because it's almost here. Accidents always happen in this place. Some may spare a bit of their time for a moment of silence, but most will turn away thinking, "Again?" One thing that was done right is that the department's been sealed off. I'm the only one left anyway. Did you learn anything from my story? What kind of lesson can be learned from a story as horrible as this, you ask? It's similar to most fairy tales. Don't be lazy is the lesson. When my voice ceases, come here and clean up your colleagues in exactly 3 minutes. Pretty soon I won't be able to keep talking. I'm about to swallow a large bomb. Time's running out. Blood is flowing all around here. I'm starting to see the smiling faces now. Something you don't see much of around here. Don't be surprised when you hear a loud explosion. Like I said, it's precisely 3 minutes. I'm sure a bomb this size will be able to suppress it. The last body it finds will be mine.
Aleph, smile.
It has the pale faces of nameless employees and a giant mouth on it. Upon striking with the weapon, the monstrous mouth opens wide to devour the target. Its hunger unsatiable. The armor is studded with familiar faces. The wearer suddenly feels the weight of death, which is pretty normal here. The dead will protect the wearer from enemy attacks, so it should be okay to feel safe. Rarely can be heard, but it's best to ignore it as if there's nothing you can do for it.
Scarecrow searching for wisdom.
An abnormality taking the form of a straw scarecrow. The straw is stained with blood. The head is empty, as if someone forcefully tore it open. It shows aggression towards certain employees attempting to take their brains. These employees are the ones who scored excellent on the intelligence test. Each city needed to have its own unique technologies. That was the key to reinvigorating the city. There were numerous ones, but among them, one city saw advancements in technology for the replacement of body parts. It was possible to repair or augment body parts that were broken and malfunctioning, or simply undesirable. Every citizen was eligible for that treatment. However, rumors circulated. When a rich person looking to improve their eyesight approached a beggar with broken lungs struggling to breathe, they would transplant the beggar's eyes to the rich person. Then, they would abandon the beggar's corpse somewhere along the outskirts, still with those rotting lungs. The city's representative reassured them, dismissing the rumors as nonsense. To put the rumors to rest, they announced that they would select a number of sick people from the outskirts and fix any body part that they wanted. Out of the lucky few who were chosen, one returned several days later. He had a visibly long scar on his head, People asked him how he felt, and he responded that his head felt lighter. He was a man filled with sorrow who used to cry a lot, so everybody believed that the surgery was a success. However, when he was asked about the whereabouts of the others who went with him, he just smiled without uttering a single word. Before long, even at his parents' funeral, he showed no emotion. All he did after the treatment was stare out of the window and talk to himself. Eventually, he hung himself on the doorknob of his house. How high is that doorknob? Some people thought that the treatment caused his troubles, but after a few days he was completely forgotten. The city still remained a beautiful place where the emerald road sparkled, bright as ever. H.E. Harvest. The last legacy of the man who sought wisdom. The rake tilled the human brain instead of farmland. Gross. How many of the wise people among us have lost their lives to this rake? And the description for the armor is the exact same, even though it's not a rake, so I'm not sure why it is. Dimensional refraction variant. This is one of the ones that was only there for like a day or two. It was a strange phenomenon. It was a phenomenon in and of itself. There was nothing within the unit that could be detected with the naked eye. It was like those who have made similar claims some time ago. Just because something cannot be seen does not mean it doesn't exist. The containment unit's square length was roughly meters, and this is the cognitive range of the abnormality. The only advice that can be given is to remain cautious and aware of your surroundings. Breathing will become impossible while in range of the abnormality. The area will become a vacuum. Strictly speaking, the abnormality itself is the vacuum phenomenon. Record of the death of employee Chomsky. There was no way to confirm if the abnormality had left its containment unit or not. All of a sudden, Chomsky had stopped in the middle of the corridor and just stood there. The hallway was busy at the time, and many a person passing by. And of course, many of these people expressed their discontent for having part of the hallway blocked. Then, all of a sudden, Chomsky's body suddenly rose over 3 meters in the air. His legs and arms were awkwardly stretched out as if he was being crucified. If his legs had still been on the ground, he might have looked as if he were performing an elegant play or doing ballet. Everyone in the hallway stopped to look at him. Then, Chomsky started to scream. He screamed like a madman who had witnessed something horrifying. Nobody knew what to do. Some of our employees attempted to pull Chomsky down by his legs. He didn't budge. After that, Chomsky stopped screaming. A short silence followed, and Chomsky opened his mouth, attempting to mutter something. The 2 employees who were trying to pull Chomsky down started to scream. Blood poured from his body. His arms and legs separated, leaving his limbless body floating in the air. All hell broke loose in the hallway, and everyone began running. How to recognize this abnormality is a matter that needs to be discussed further. Currently, we are researching ultraviolet technology that may be able to detect the abnormality using the eyes of shrimp. But the performance so far has been far from satisfactory. For now, a good method is to have employees entering its containment unit bring a glass cup filled halfway with water. They will need to place this cup on the floor while working. If the cup begins to slosh, threatening to spill over, the employee must stop working and leave the unit immediately. VAV diffraction. To see this ego, one must thoroughly concentrate. You can ignore the ridiculous advice, you can see it with your mind. It may be in your best interest to calculate the radius when you swing, given that it is invisible. Many employees have sustained injury from the erroneous calculation, and there is no armor. The Queen of Hatred, so far the best abnormality. I will not hear anything else. A humanoid abnormality that looks like it would go and fight villains for peace and justice at any moment. Or if you hit trumpet too. It is friendly towards every employee and is able to engage in casual conversation. It believes that it is a hero born to save the world and takes considerable pride in it. When it shows signs of anxiety or doubt while conversing with an employee, its appearance and personality will undergo an adverse change within 4 days, and it will display symptoms of dissociative disorders. The definition of good and evil are fixed in its mind. Some assume when the abnormality's beliefs lead to a horrible doubt about its existence of evil, it will choose to become evil to negate that doubt. All parameters will return to normal after the negative phase passes, and the abnormality will have no memory of the behavior it exhibited during that phase. Audio log 1. How are you feeling today?
Good. The world is at peace and it's quiet around here. Peace is a great thing to have. It means there aren't any villains around, right?
Audio log 2. You're looking a bit down today.
Still fine. The world is peaceful, and it's...
The abnormality fell silent and did not wish to continue speaking. Audio log 3. Are you alright?
Why is it still so peaceful? You see, the whole purpose of my life is to defeat villains. It's as if the world itself is trying to say it doesn't need me. Really, why is it so peaceful? Oh, did I mention that I'm a magical girl? To keep the world's peace, I was born. But today it's quiet today.
The abnormality continued to murmur incomprehensible words to itself. Audio log 4. The abnormality endlessly mumbles to itself, without even noticing the employee in its containment.
The world can be divided into good and evil. I am on the side of justice. If I am on the side of good, then someone has to be on the side of evil. Without someone to play the villain, I can't exist. Then, who's going to protect the world?
Audio cuts out. Audio level 5. Level 3 or above access required. This is a part of the audio obtained during the rampage on the date of... The abnormality used a radio installed in the facility to call the emergency planning team. Continuous sobbing. This is the emergency planning team. Please identify yourself.
I think I did this. I couldn't stop myself. It's my fault. I ruined everything. I betrayed the people who were so kind to me. I don't remember why I did this.
Could you elaborate on what happened?
I don't know. They are moving. There's so much blood. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
Omitted. 3 bodies were found in the abnormality's containment unit. The abnormality lost all memory of the incident afterwards.
Vav, in the name of love and hate.
A magic wand surging with the lovely energy of a magical girl. The holy light can cleanse the body and mind of every villain, and they shall be born anew. Set ablaze, they won't want to wake up ever again.
I don't know. That sounds like killing him.
The shape of love that wanted to protect everyone soon began to corrode the mind in the form of obsession. When she tried to rectify it, everything was over. A magical one-piece dress imbued with the love and justice of a magical girl. Wearing it may ignite your spirit of justice and the desire to protect the world. Then you'll hear the sound of hatred, sinking deeper than love. What to do? She vowed to love everything in the world, but all that was left was a collapsing heart. And finally, censored. The worst abnormality in the game! Any attempts to describe censored will cause severe mental corruption to both the speaker and the listener. Therefore, it is forbidden to record any depictions of the appearance of this censored. All audio and written records should be inspected to ensure that such depictions are deleted from them. All work pertaining to the deletion must be designated to a level 5 or higher employee.
They can go above level 5?
Excerpt from audio record. Facey Randy. Man, how would Facey Randy talk, actually? The reason I haven't been doing voices, been like 2 weeks since I've done it. A little out of practice. Alright, here we go. Facey Randy, from now on, my friend, you are going to have the manliest voice that I can possibly muster, just for you. It's a shame we have to send such a capable employee like you to its containment unit. You have any last words before proceeding? Of course, when I say last words, it's just a precautionary thing.
It can't be helped. I'm the employee with the highest resistance against cognitive breakdown. I've been apathetic towards everything since I was a kid. People often say I lacked empathy and wasn't normal. However, when I got to work here, my abnormal ability became the key to save everyone. That is something that can never be experienced anywhere else.
Let me say this again. While it is true that you have the highest resistance among employees, that's only based on human standards. If you begin to suffer from a surge of intrusive thoughts, or if you decide to count down from 10, but fail to remember what 10 even is, or feel an uncontrollable regurgitation of vomit or saliva, or if this place starts to feel like somewhere else other than the company, or if... Facey Randy, calm down! You suddenly feel insignificant, that you think you're suffocating is your only hope, you need to leave the containment unit immediately.
If you tell me that one more time, that'll make it 13 times you've said that now.
We cannot monitor you in real time. All cameras are off, and your audio record will only be updated after the work is finished. Needless to say, I'm worried about you. Why don't you repeat the instructions I gave you a bit ago?
Go in, do the work myself, accompany employee, and observe the work progress, and record everything that happens, even if is in danger. Do not attempt to rescue unless ordered otherwise. Right?
Exactly. Now, our contract will be cut off in 10 seconds, if you remember where that is. Good luck, and Godspeed to your record.
I have no regrets. I'd say I'm pretty lucky compared to others.
At the very least, I get to leave my last voice record.
Well, I say last, only as a precaution, but...
Alright, your record will be eternally archived, and all our fellow employees will remember you. 3, 2, 1.
Randy, that looks like our... from long ago, doesn't it? Oh, I forgot for a moment that only I can see this. Employee who was with me became... looks like it can even breathe. Employees who was with me became... This is just like the process of... I feel a little sick, but I'm good. A small came out of employee... I can't believe this. I'm starting to... Employee is screaming like... The cries. Can you hear them? It reminds me of... Now I see. This is the reason exists. This is the worst thing I've seen in my life. I can't even move. Looks like has made me its next target. Soon I will, too. It's getting closer. I'll put my recorder in my... I hope this record will help everyone. Even after we adopted the cognition filter, many of our managers have lost their mind. Half of them gone because of... Even if we raise the cognition filter to its maximum setting, at the risk of having our employees and other abnormalities being perceived as extremely simple objects, managers will still be driven insane as soon as this abnormality comes into sight. Can't make our manager blind just because of one abnormality. We're stuck in a dilemma. The only solution we could come up with was at the suggestion of one of our employees. It was to cover the abnormality with a giant set of sensors and blurring. If a flaw in the system disables the sensors covering the abnormality, we will once again have to sincerely consider how to dispose of the manager. Aleph, censored. Censored has the ability to censor, but this is a horrendous sight for those watching. Looking at the ego for more than 3 seconds will make you sick. And that is why I don't use it, even though it's technically stupidly good. Alrighty, but with that, I believe that is going to do it for this episode of Lobotomy Lore. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. I wanted to do something a bit simple, and reading out lore is fairly simple. Sorry there wasn't too many voices in this one. I'm a little out of practice, so my voice is still kind of but getting back into the swing of things, I am more or less good to go. We'll see what the rainstorms have in store and if that slows me down even further, because after all, when it rains, it pours. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thank you guys for the generous amounts of just care and love and support you guys have been sending. It really means the world to me. It's made all of this significantly easier. So there's really no words I can say that can thank you guys enough. I never thought I'd have
a council quite as loving as you guys. So I really just have to say thank you guys for all that. It means a lot. But, next episode, probably going to be another lore episode, because I'd like to catch up at least a fair bit, because we are going to be going through a lot of abnormalities here soon, especially with the recent restart. So I just want to get as much progress on that as possible, and then, whoo boy, and then we somehow need to get back to Cheesed, and I think doing Cheesed, and I mean going straight for Cheese. Like, in our first run, we went to Gabura and then Cheesed. If we go to Cheese first, do his suppression, I think we'll be good to go. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.